Good day, guys. This is Kirill, and we're continuing our series of A Course in Miracles review lessons. Today, we are reviewing lesson 84, which covers lessons 67 and 68. And yeah, let's read the lessons first, and then we'll do our normal meditation and practice the lessons themselves. Um, okay, so this is lesson 84, and lesson 67. Love created me like itself. I am in the likeness of my creator. I cannot suffer, I cannot experience loss, and I cannot die. I am not a body. I would recognize my reality today. I will worship no idols, nor raise my own self concept to replace myself. I am in the likeness of my Creator. Love created me like itself. Very enchanting lesson, I would say. But behind a bunch of kind of uplifting statements, let's try to really dig a little bit deeper to uncover their meaning. Uh, yeah, let me just share the way I understand these statements, and yeah, you can probably relate to that, or maybe you have your own understanding. But here's my kind of summary of that. I'm in the likeness of my creator. I think if we go to, I don't know, Christian church, then we would be able to see a icons of, I don't know, Holy Spirit, various saints, various like Jesus, and various people who are considered saints. But if we think a little bit harder, I think if a God was a human, it would be discovered long ago, and apparently God is not. God is spirit, and this is exactly what Course is advocating. But here, this first bullet point says that I'm in the likeness of my creator. I'm the spirit. I was personally kind of struggling for a very long time to even grasp what it means. These days, it's a little bit easier because I was asking for a very long time for Holy Spirit to show me the meaning of it. And yeah, I think it's getting a little bit easier to relate to that. Yeah, I guess it's very. Of course, everyone has a very personal experience with the course, and course specifically says that the instructions and experience will be highly personal and potentially different for different people. The end result is the same, but the path might be quite different. And the way I kind of perceive it, the likeness of my creator today, is that in the morning meditation, it was a repeated theme for some time that I would just see the line behind everything. If you remember one of the first lessons that we reviewed, it was, I don't remember it by heart, but it was something along the lines of I can see God, and God is in everything I see. That's the exact title. And so, yeah, occasionally I could, more frequently these days, I can see God and everything. It's kind of very hard to explain. It's kind of presence. It's the way I see it is a this kind of energy field that has absolute best interest in mind for everyone, and is giving this it calls us to join in joy and in gratitude and in absolute ecstasy with itself. I know it sounds a little bit kind of cheesy, maybe, but yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. It's really pure, and when I experience these feelings, it becomes absolutely clear that, in fact, everything else become the rest of the bullet points become crystal clear. That there are there may be bodies, but bodies are just extensions of something perfect and pure and I don't know, just giving everything gives absolute best to everything. I don't know how else to explain. So words really are unfortunately betraying us here, and our language is not doesn't have good enough words to talk about these matters. What I can say, however, is that the experiences like that, and this is probably the most important thing, I was for a long time kind of, I understood mentally that love created me like itself, but without the experience, the words are just, you know, it's like reading about alpinism and actually going and climb the mountain. It is this type of difference. Yes, you can be very well read about what is important when you climb a mountain and what you need to have and what kind of I don't know, relationships you need to form in the team, and so on, so on, so on. But from the book, it's a little bit of shallow knowledge unless it's applied to real life. It's in a way useless. It's like talking about sex and having sex. I don't know what other metaphor is better. But I guess what's important here is that if you are like me and you have similar type of difficulty, just keep asking Holy Spirit to show you what it means and show you the way, do the lessons, read the course, and I don't know, certainly works for me. And and what is absolutely clear, it's not my achievement. The only thing that I do, I really just ask. Is it when it comes, it's absolutely clear that I could have never kind of conceived something like that myself. It's just everything that I see that we see in the external world. It couldn't prepare us for this magnificence of the spirit. And so this was a very long and winded way to talk about I'm in the likeness of my creator. And then, yeah, I guess what's important here as well, when I experience this field, this joyous, um, exalted feeling of absolute freedom and joy and union, it's like it is a creator and creation at the same time. Creator created us, the Son, by extending himself. And in this sense, it's kind of, we cannot understand God in the kind of normal sense of word understand. uh, God is not understandable, but we can certainly feel what it means, and ultimately we can know. But this mental understanding is just too limited. It couldn't encompass something that great and that huge and that all encompassing. It's just, and something as united, because our knowledge and our understanding relies on the fact that we are understanding the parts, and then the parts comprise the whole, and then whole in itself is just another part, that bigger part that comprises another whole that is big, yet bigger, and so on, so on, so on. But apologies, God doesn't work like that. It is simple, yet kind of, you can't explain it. But anyways, let's continue, because it's we're getting into very kind of maybe not potentially very helpful territory. uh, I cannot suffer, I cannot experience loss, and I cannot die. And why is that? So suffering, what does it mean? So what does it mean to suffer? Suffering means that we are aware that something could be better, but it isn't. And this recognition that something could be better, and the recognition that we don't have it, the better version of something, creates suffering. This recognition that we're missing something, something wanted, creates suffering. When, so I can't suffer. Why I cannot suffer? Because when I recognize myself as this field, as part of my creator, when there is only joy, only this absolute willingness to give the absolute best to, in all directions, to everyone and everything, the recognition that there is something else that is better than this is impossible, because it defies the very definition of this field, of this spirit. And so I cannot suffer, not because I'm, I don't know, in some ways incapable theoretically, but the thing is that suffering requires a state of mind that recognizes something as not perfect. And when I remember myself, that I'm spirit, everything is just perfect. And because of that, I couldn't find two things that are sufficiently distinct, and one is better and one is worse, because everything is just essentially one, and it's just so pure and bright that suffering cannot come because there is no thought that something could be improved. When I remember myself, it is perfect, and perfection cannot be improved, and therefore suffering, the conditions for suffering do not occur. Essentially, I cannot experience loss. That's quite obvious. Why? Because God could only give, and therefore loss would be absolutely impossible. And I cannot die for, again, obvious reasons, because there is no time, there is no space in the spirit, and there is no lifespan, essentially. The idea of death in eternity is meaningless, because the idea of death requires a period of time when you are alive, and then another period of time when you are not alive. When there is no time, there is no death. It's that simple. I, I kind of a word of caution that these ideas are simple and very logical, but they are so far removed from our kind of usual way of thinking that there's a chance that they would remain purely theoretical. And it is actually important. You can use the meditation that we'll do and the lesson practice that we'll do even after meditation to actually think deeper about these matters. I actually suggest that you do. So next, I'm not a body. I would recognize my reality today. I guess we already spoke enough about it. I will worship no idols, nor raise my own self concept to replace myself. When Course talks about idols, it's effectively we're using idols as replacements for God. And so, a very basic example is the following kind of direction of thought. If I only had a better body or a better car or a better house, or if I only lived in another country, if my skin color was different, if my body shape was different, if then I would be happier. And so we are assigning the I don't know, the shape of the body. Let's go with this example. The idea of happiness. We are putting our happiness kind of to depend on this external thing. But if we remember from the previous lessons that the external world, including the body, is governed by our thoughts. And the very idea of idol, which is a thought that we think would bring us happiness, is in a way self-deception, because we're kind of creating a situation. We are willingly, whether we understand it or not, uh, hiding from ourselves, and we're playing hide and seek with ourselves, because we say, oh, if I only had a better car, I would be so much happier, so much happier. And then what we don't understand is that the very idea of the better car, the very idea that a better car could make us happy, the very idea that anything out there could make us happy or even happier. So, this very idea is false. And we don't question it because of well, that's my theory, mostly because of social programming. But at the same time, I don't know, if you're like me, after a certain age, after you have this car and then that car and then this house and then that house, and then after you try things, and it's not necessarily big things, it could be small things, then gradually you will start to understand that it doesn't, every new possession will bring its like its own problems with it. And it's not that it has its problems with it, kind of within itself. It is our own desire to have problems, and then to find kind of the idea to solve these problems, and then to suffer that we have these problems, and then the cycle perpetuates itself. It is this, the desire to participate in this cycle and to call it life, is what we do, and it is we who do it to ourselves. It's no one else. And then I will worship no idols, nor raise my own self concept to replace myself. So here we say also that the self concept that we have, and we think, oh, we need to do, I don't know, self development, we need to go to gym, we need to go date someone, and so on. Um, we think that our self concept will, so if I only had a better self concept, right? I don't know, older age, like money consciousness, and then manifest everything. You should become your desires, blah, 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 blah. And what people do not understand frequently is that it is just the same ego concept of the world. It's the attempt to improve the dream. While it frequently does work, but it always, there's always something missing. You will realize if you do it kind of long enough and sincerely enough, you will realize that with every new so-called achievement, uh, there will always be the next thing that is missing. You always need the next achievement. They will never end. This list of things to make us happy, it is, while we are ticking the boxes of the list, it grows a lot faster. And the items in the list become a lot more sophisticated, a lot more complex. They require more sacrifice. Think about it. Sacrifice to get happy. Do you think happiness requires a sacrifice? It's like I remember this famous phrase in the chorus, like, love does not kill to save. So, and in this um, bullet point, we say, I will not raise my own self concept to replace myself. And what we are just saying is that my real self was created by God. Love created me like itself, the title of the lesson. And trying to say that, oh, no, 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 no. I have my own self concept. I'm a man. I'm white. I live in Australia. I work as whatever. I have this. My friends are that. So, and so on. How I define myself through all those things, right? And trying to say that this is me is to replace my real self. And this lesson just says that I will leave all that aside and look at what is. Let's move on. I'm in likeness of my creator. I think, yeah, this is just a reminder that this self, this field, this energy, this will to life, will to happen, to be happy, and this happiness, they are exactly what our creator is, and we are the extension of the creator. So we, in essence, we are all the same, and we are one with creator in essence. And yeah, this is just a useful reminder, I find, just to remember that there is the difference of source and extension is that they're essentially the same. It's just source made itself kind of bigger, extended itself, but it's the same substance. It's um, the same thought, we could say. And the God's Son is exactly in like the Creator, just a little bit smaller, but not in terms of size. In reality, there is no comparisons. There is no greater or inferior. There is no bigger or smaller. It's just an extension. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but yeah, over time, everyone experiences this understanding. And we rounded up with love created me like itself, which is the title of the lesson. Just think about the sentence, love created me like itself. What does it mean? What does it talk about? What are the implications? What if it is applicable to everyone and everything? What are the consequences of that? And now we'll go through the suggested application phrases for this lesson. You might find these specific forms helpful for applying the idea. So we just discussed all of that, and the thoughts that Jesus suggests to. So the thoughts we just discussed, he suggests hold these thoughts when you apply these sentences to your daily situation. Let me not see an illusion of myself in this situation. Let me not see an illusion of myself in this. Or, in other words, let me see as spirit in this situation. What would spirit do? And we, as bodies, we have no way of telling. We could just ask. As I look on this situation, let me remember my Creator. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't know. I just thought of being in the shopping center today. And as I look at myself doing some shopping, let me remember my Creator. How would it change the experience? Or if I'm in some strange conversation that I don't particularly enjoy, let me remember my Creator. What would it change in my attitudes? What would it change in the direction of the conversation? What would be the outcome I would be seeking? What would be the measure of success that I would set for myself and work towards? What would be the outcome for others? If I win, do they have to lose? My Creator did not create this situation as I see it. Well, when we say things like that, of course, my Creator did not create anything as I see it, because the very idea of seeing with, like, in terms of with the eyes, with the body's eyes, it's not what my Creator would do at all, because the very fact that we see with our eyes means that we are removing the wholeness from the picture. We are seeing different parts, and we are eager to find errors and problems and so on, and everything that we see. But here we say that my Creator did not create this situation as I see it. but what kind of attitude my creator has. And we remember that title of the lesson is Love Created Me Like Itself. What if love created this situation? What would be the meaning that love would intend to convey? If love created me like itself, how am I supposed to react? If love created me like itself, what can I really judge the situation? What would be if what I see is not what my creator created, then what is it that I see? And who sees it? And what is the content? And if love created me like itself, what is the real content? And how do I allow to see the real content in the situation? These are all questions that are good questions, but at the same time, I guess a word of caution that don't try that hard to find to find answers by yourself, because it could be a rabbit hole when so the idea is that we could not find answers ourselves. That's the whole point, and we need to ask. And in fact, if you look at the phrases, let me not see an illusion of myself in this. As I look on this, let me remember my creator. My creator did not create this as I see it. It never suggests that we should change anything, we should judge something, we should, I don't know, protect something, defend a position or opinion. It just says softly, remember what it means. Remember who you really are. Remember that love created me like itself. And just watch how situation changes. Essentially, allow Holy Spirit to change the situation for me. So essentially, when I remember myself, let me not see an illusion of myself in this, meaning let me see who I really am in this, the spirit. And so when I see myself as spirit, this is automatically a fact of delegating all the authority to the Holy Spirit, and He will provide back all the ideas and all the necessary means to continue in the situation, whatever it is. And if I'm the Spirit, I do not depend on what is the physical outcome of the situation is, because I know that whatever it is being guided by the Holy Spirit to the highest and best of everyone. And I don't have to worry how it will work out. will it damage my like public image, my mask? I don't know. I don't know. And so when these thoughts about like what people think about me, how it will look like if I just ask from the spirit perspective, these are all fears that we need to give to the Holy Spirit, because we don't know what to do with that essentially. And yeah, with that, let's continue to the next lesson. Oh, this is so lovely. Love holds no grievances. Lesson 68. Grievances are completely alien to love. Grievances attack love and keep its light obscure. If I hold grievances, I am attacking love and therefore attacking myself. Myself thus becomes alien to me. I am determined not to attack myself today so that I can remember who I am. And again, it sounds like a bunch of, these fridge quotes like I love myself, I'm fond of myself, and so on. But again, let's dig a little bit deeper. So, if we think about what love is, we could, of course, we cannot, of course, specifically that love is beyond understanding and beyond explanation, but we could think about some properties of love, right? So, love is caring, love is kind, love is forgiving, love is universal and applies to everything. Love doesn't ask for sacrifice. Love essentially is happy. Love is joyous. Um, and it's just ever expanding because there is no limit. And love keeps growing all the time. I guess it would be fair to say, because there is no limit. And we say in the first bullet point, we say that grievances and love are incompatible. We either have grievances or we could experience love. Not both, not at the same time. And by grievances, of course, we mean starting from some very subtle annoyances that we potentially don't even detect, to hate and to, I don't know, like strong emotions, strong fear, strong grief, loss, and things like that. So all of that is incompatible with love, and we could either experience one or the other, not both. And they don't mix at all. And interestingly, that the process of letting go of grievances is quite interesting, because we have so many grievances. When I just started looking at it, it was like I was just not monitoring my mind, but occasionally I just felt inspired to look at my thoughts and just to see what I'm thinking about right now. And there are so many judgments, and there seems like there are continuous stream of judgments and continuous stream of um, just worry, anxiety, and so on. And then also, I realize that everything that I see around me, the way I look at it, is actually offensive, defensive, judging, and it's the same thing. It is exactly the same thing. Everything that is not love is not love. Only love is love, and everything else must have some kind of grievances, must have some kind of blocks to love that we are holding on without realizing. I think 99% we don't realize that we do that. And it was just such a profound realization for me that I'm doing it to myself. And the fact that it's subconscious doesn't change a thing. And this is when I started really looking at it, my life became kind of less and less surprising, I would say, because I would really see how I'm doing it to myself. And even the reverse is true. If I see some problem in my life, I must have welcomed it. I must have created it. And so it really points to the fact that there is some attraction of a problem in my mind going on, even though I don't understand it and don't see it for what it is. But this is when I realized that everything in my life is helpful, and all grievances are really meant to be forgiven, and that's really their purpose. And there is nothing else. And once we understand that this is the purpose of grievances, just to be forgiven, then we kind of welcome them, because once we understand our capacity to forgive, there's no point to live with grievances any further. It's just, oh, okay, I need to forgive this. Why would I keep it to myself if I know it harms me, right? So, yeah. And I think once it dawns on us that grievances are actually helpful, like everything is helpful in our lives, then it gets on a different level, I guess. Grievances attack love and keep its light obscure. And this is just different phrasing of what I was just talking about. If I experience grievance for any reason at all, even if it's them, even if it's completely outside of my control, or so it seems, even if like it's not me, essentially, uh, it is not true. And everything that happens in my life, I want to own. By owning, I mean I must accept that everything that I perceive is my responsibility. I must have welcomed it. I must have welcomed the essence of the problem, or essence of the kind of disappointment or grievance into my life before it could manifest as something that I perceive. And by doing so, this is a direct attack on love, because by wishing for grievances in my life, it means that I am obscuring love, because otherwise, the idea of grievances, as we said, grievances and love are incompatible. So if I choose grievances, and I choose grievances if I perceive grievances, then it must follow that I attack love, because otherwise love would just spread. Love just, it doesn't even need a invitation. Uh, all it needs is that I'm not blocking it. That's all. It will expand by itself. There's no need to do anything. And if I perceive grievances, or if I perceive anything but love, I must attack love. There is no other way, and keep its light obscure. If I hold grievances, I'm attacking love, and therefore attacking myself. Myself thus becomes alien to me. What it really says is that, again, my real self, capital S, and grievances are incompatible. If I have grievances, I must not have access to my real self. And if I do have access to my real self, grievances are impossible at that point in time. I guess yeah, it just ties everything together. I'm determined not to attack myself today, so that I can remember who I am. And again, if we don't attack love, if we don't attack our real self, then the memory of our real self, or love, will just expand automatically into our mind. There is nothing for us to do. As soon as we remove blocks and we don't choose to perpetuate those blocks all the time, and subconsciously, of course, because if we realize that we wouldn't do it, this is the whole reason why subconscious exists, so that we did protect ourselves from realizing that we're doing to ourselves. If we don't block love, it will just naturally come. There is nothing for us to do. There is no need to call love. There is no need to kind of invite love. It's just, it will do its thing. There is nothing for us to do. It's not that it will not come. It's not that you need to somehow tempt it to come. No, it doesn't work this way. As soon as we stop attacking it, it will just come by itself. And these specific forms for applying this idea would be helpful. Again, we are holding this idea that grievances and love are incompatible. And if I perceive grievances, I must have welcomed them, and I must keep on welcoming them, and I must attack love and my real self and keep the light obscure. And by doing that, by attacking love, I'm attacking also myself. And I'm determined to ask Holy Spirit to show me how to remove the blocks so that I can remember who I am. Or we can say, welcome who I am, but it's not really what happens. From my experience, at least, it's just, we are just realizing that, oh, this is really what I'm thinking. And okay, so if I won't think this, then this is true. And when we look at two kind of choices, when we need to make one, so this strange and stupid thing that we thought before, why would we keep it? Because these other choices so much better and doesn't cost us anything, really. Okay, this is not, there is no justification. Okay, this situation is no justification for denying myself. So when we experience something, there, especially when we react strongly negatively, there is a strong knee-jerk reaction to deny that we are a spirit and accept ourselves that we are a body and react as if this something is harmful to us as a body. But here in this lesson, Jesus welcomes us to say, all right, so this happened, but it doesn't mean that we should deny our real self, our spirit nature. And so when something quote unquote bad happens, um, Jesus suggests to remember that this is no justification for denying myself. And it's worth remembering who I am. And it takes practice to do that, but it's achievable for sure. I will not use this situation to attack love. Again, interesting. So this lesson is about grievances, of course, and I guess this is a just recognition. If we see a situation as a problem or really anything other than joy, then we're attacking love. And I will not use this situation to attack love. I'm not saying that we should just if someone's, I don't know, spouse died yesterday, you should just uh, dance and be on fire out of joy, and not respect people's emotions. What I'm saying is that is rather just let Holy Spirit tell you what to do. I think this is what it's all about. And remembering that attack love means experience grievance. And if I just let go of the grievance, then the right way will be shown to me. In the prior example with someone's dying, we could be actually inspired to be super kind to this person, or super kind of relate to the problem in a way without accepting grievance for ourselves, but just holding the image of this person fully recovered and happy and jumping from joy, understanding that at the moment they're just going through the rough patch, but wishing them really well without really knowing what it is that is well for them, but really wishing them well. And yeah, you don't have to kind of be disrespectful to them to do that. And again, because we don't know what is best for everyone, it is just really allowing Holy Spirit to just tell us what to do. And when we don't listen to the Holy Spirit, this is equivalent to attacking love, because we are rejecting the loving answer. Let this not tempt me to attack myself. Let this situation not tempt me to attack myself. I think, yeah, that's exactly the same thing, but it just says in all those situations when there is a desire to say, "Oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and whatever," and we already discussed that the idea of replacing God with idols doesn't lead anywhere, doesn't really bring happiness. And attacking myself is, again, there's a strange desire to punish myself so that God doesn't punish me that much. It's kind of, yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, you can think about some situation and when you felt shame, guilt, not enough, unworthy, um, and look at it again, just to see what Holy Spirit has to say. All right, and this is our lessons. Now we are moving on. Quick reminder that, as usual, we all know that resistance could take a gazillion of forms, and that's all right. It is important to realize that there is resistance, to understand where it comes from, to become to not freak out how to, like if you experience resistance, but to understand that any resistance can go. Absolutely any resistance can go. And it's not up to us at all to deal with that. We in fact, we can't. And the only way to deal with resistance really is to ask for help from the Holy Spirit. Well, at least speaking from experience, this is the only reliable way. And it is okay. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the answer to come through from the Holy Spirit. It could take minutes, days, weeks, sometimes not frequently, but occasionally weeks, to really resistance to relax enough so that you are able to do the exercise. But yeah, just accept that Holy Spirit is really helping you now. And by doing that, you will just speed up the process very much. And yeah, most of all, don't freak out. Like whatever you experience. I remember several weeks ago I experienced intense rage. And this is a very unusual reaction for me. It was sorry. It was some work situation that I experienced the rage about. And I caught myself quickly. The rage was there, but I realized that this is so strange. And I just asked Holy Spirit to help me with that. And in, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, it completely dissolved. And I actually perceive situation very differently. So yeah, resistance can come. It could catch you off guard, but yeah, you like over time we all learn to recognize it, to understand that this is not the end of the world. It just happens. It's fine. We can work with any kind of resistance. The answer is always the same from the Holy Spirit, but it is highly kind of specialized every time. But in essence, it's all the same. All the answers are the same. So yeah, just ask and it is given you. And if you feel that the help doesn't go through, just ask more. Just ask to maybe even help you to relax, to to be able to accept the answer. Yeah, but Holy Spirit does not need our help really. He knows what he's doing, and if you feel like answer doesn't come, there might be a reason for that as well. So that you learn to recognize the answer faster, whatever it might be for you. Okay, let's move on. 10 minutes meditation. I'm pausing the video, and yeah, I'm doing 10 minutes. You can do however long you feel is right for you, or you can skip altogether if you feel that this is right for you. But yeah, see you in 10 minutes. Right. Welcome back. It was an interesting meditation. Holy Spirit suggested a interesting. So first of all, as soon as I paused the video, a very specific song started playing in my mind. This is very big music, kind of. Don't know how to explain it. Well, I don't know if you know, don't know, but it was Dimash Kudaibergen, Ogni Pietra, Every Stone. And this is a very powerful operatic music, but made in a very contemporary style. Doesn't matter. And the image that I had is that this music represents a grandiosity of and power and joy and well-being of who I am, who I really am, this magnificent field of life that is behind everything that we see in this external world. And this is who we really are. And then, so this music is playing, and Holy Spirit shows me a kind of map, what looked like Europe. And everything was kind of green, like if you look at the political map of Europe, there are many, many, many countries, about 50, but the map that I had just 2 countries. One was red, and it was completely surrounded with a border, and was completely surrounded with green, and green didn't have any end at all. It was extending everywhere without limit. And this kind of poor country in the middle, tiny, tiny, tiny country compared to everything that surrounds it. This huge, vast green country, and red country was fighting fiercely against the green country to take its land. But interestingly enough, Holy Spirit showed me why they were fighting. And essentially, it's a little bit of a long story, but essentially, it's a just misunderstanding. These poor people in this red country, they were just believing some bogus ideas, really. And it's not worth it. It's just, if you look on the balance, if you compare life in green country and in red country, it's just not worth it. There's absolutely no point. And regardless of the reasons why red country exists, how it came to be, and what will happen with all this fight, it's just such a beautiful metaphor of how the ego works. It just tries to protect its borders at all costs without realizing that its very existence is pointless. Because if you compare what's behind the ego with what's kind of within the borders of the ego, because ego must be limited, it must have borders, then it's just pointless. It's just so pointless. Yeah, that was, I think, the short story of the meditation. It was quite colorful today, quite interesting, and musical as well. All right, so let's do the lesson. I'm switching to another presentation. And as usual, we have 10 slides, slide numbers here. They will automatically flip. So the slides are lesson 67, 68, 67, 68. Because this year for me is the year of relationships, I will apply all these things to my relationship situations, but you are welcome to do whatever you please. You can go through these bullet points, you can go through suggested phrases, and yeah, just whatever you're inspired to do. And 10 minutes, and you can see the time progress in here. So the slides will flip every minute, every 60 seconds. All right, let's go. And I will mute myself. Right. So yeah, for me, it was kind of very practical because I imagined a particular situation that I had recently, and it was kind of unpleasant. And I was applying these phrases and kind of imagining how would I react like if I would remember God at this moment, at that moment. How would I? What would be my thoughts about the situation if I remembered my real self? What would be my goals that I want to kind of achieve in this situation if I remembered that, if I saw myself as spirit at that point in time. And yeah, this is, for me personally, it is practice like that that really, it can't really happen. Well, I mean, it can, but it makes it a lot more, yeah, I don't know. So Holy Spirit suggested me this practice. What I was going to say is that it makes it more likely that it will happen spontaneously when you experience it if you practice it up front. And this is my experience. However, saying that I know what to do would be probably a overstepping my real abilities. So yeah, I was just Holy Spirit suggested me to practice this way today. And it was very, very nice because I really felt like there weren't any negative judgment and negative thoughts. It's just the development that I'm invited to participate in and find the perfect solution, understanding that solution cannot come from me as a body and as an understanding of the body, as a self concept. It must come from the Holy Spirit. And because I invited him, well, not really invited, but just because I'm not blocking his solution, it must come. And I can keep very confident and very quiet in knowing that it will come when it needs to come. And before it came, I could just stay peaceful, understanding that Holy Spirit will give everything to me at the right time. I will be inspired to open my mouth and say something when is the right time. And I don't need to stress if I'm not inspired to say something. I will just I would just understand that Holy Spirit knows what to do and I don't. And I would just be grateful for this knowledge and for this experience. Understanding by following Holy Spirit, I am extending His will into the world. And in fact, our shared will. And so even if I'm not inspired to do anything, I'm still sharing our shared will, and the situation just doesn't call for any action or any words, and it doesn't call for any. I won't say grievance. It's not that it doesn't call. The grievance is just not there because I know whose will I'm sharing. Grievance is impossible in this case. So yeah, that was the exercise, and yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next time.